From the traditions passed on to create the autumn holiday to the folklore surrounding your favorite decorations, today we look at the dark secrets of Halloween. Number 10. Name origins. Most everyone, at least in the United States, is familiar with the festive fall-time celebration of Halloween, rich with scary costumes and sweet treats. But where does the name for this spooky holiday come from? It originates from the Catholic holiday of All Saints' Day, which was established by the 5th century AD under the moniker All Martyrs' Day. As time passed, that holiday gained many different synonymous titles, such as All Hallows' Day, with hallow meaning a holy person or saint. Every November 1st, Catholics would celebrate the sacred date, and eventually the night before gained holiday status as well. The evening before was known as Hallows Evening, or Hallows Eve, and the Scots word for eve was even, which was contracted to Ian, so it became Hallows E'en, which in turn eventually became Halloween. Number 9. Celtic history. In an attempt to increase participation in the Catholic All Hallows Day Eve and subsequently All Hallows Day, communities began blending in the traditions of a popular pagan holiday known as Samhain. This festival has Celtic origins and is meant to celebrate the end of the summer. Thus, foods made from the fall harvest, such as pumpkins, became festivity staples. However, there was more to Samhain than praising autumn leaves and squashes. According to Celtic mythology, this time of year was when the walls between the real world and the afterlife waned thin. Pagan believers considered this to mean the spirits and souls of those who had passed were more likely to return to the world of the living. To celebrate and honor these souls, especially relatives and ancestors, Celtic pagans would offer tribute in the form of food and costumed entertainment. Sporting animal masks and skins, the believers hoped to confuse the spirits, and in the process offered both tricks and treats to the supposed ghosts that came to visit. By adding these elements, which are very similar to the celebrations tied to the Mexican holiday known as Dia de los Muertos, the Catholic Church hoped to convert pagans more easily to their beliefs. Number 8. Bobbing for prophecies. One of the most popular games at Halloween parties around the world is the classic Bobbing for Apples. Fall is already apple harvesting season, so it may seem as though the game came to be as a sort of convenient collusion. In truth, though, much like other Halloween traditions, this vintage party game dates back centuries in accordance with Celtic pagan beliefs. Originally, bobbing for apples was a form of divination, or way of reading the future. But unlike the endless results presented by tarot cards or horoscopes, this form of divination had a very specific purpose. Long before speed dating and matchmaking apps, people would bob for apples to discover their potential soulmate. Different versions of the game exist, with one consisting of women marking apples that their male suitors would then need to bob for, and being paired with whichever lady's apple they bit into. Another version comes from the Romans and a celebration towards Pomona, the goddess of plenty. In this version, unmarried participants would engage in apple bobbing to determine who could be the next to marry. And then there's the tradition that says a young woman who places the apple she bobbed under her pillow will dream of her future love. Number 7. The jack-o'-lantern. Adorning the porches of homes all over in October are the intricately carved, candlelit pumpkins known as jack-o'-lanterns. Today, jack-o'-lanterns act as a canvas for anything from friendly and frightening faces to elaborate works of art. Long before this current incarnation of the holiday tradition, though, jack-o'-lanterns looked quite different in the 19th century Ireland, where they originated. The practice originated with the legend of the mythical Irish figure, Stingy Jack, though there are many different versions of this tale. One tells of a character who was known for living a very deceptive life, partaking in evil deeds, and telling many lies. This drew the attention of the devil, who came to claim Stingy Jack's soul one night. After convincing the Prince of Darkness into buying him a few rounds at the pub, the devil transformed into a coin to pay the tab. Jack acted quickly, stashing the coin into his pocket right next to a crucifix, allowing him to strike a deal with the devil to spare his soul. When Jack passed away, due to his fiendish ways in life, he was denied entry into heaven and the underworld, cursed to roam the earth with a hallowed turnip for a head, lit by an ember gifted from Beelzebub. Thus, during Samhain, it became a tradition for carved turnips and rutabagas to be placed out to ward off evil spirits. Eventually, pumpkins replaced them sometime later. Number 6. Tricks, treats, and soul cakes. Perhaps the most iconic image associated with Halloween is the sight of children swarming the streets each October 31st. Candy and jump scares weren't always the highlights of this costumed practice of trick-or-treating. as the current-day version of the practice is actually the combination of various traditions from different cultures. For example, the concept of costumes, as mentioned prior, draws from ancient Celtics who would wield their costumes to confuse and scare away evil spirits. As for seeking out sweet treats, this practice began in medieval England, where the poor would go souling in the autumn. This act consisted of visiting the rich seeking soul cakes in exchange for religious compensation, with the soulers praying on behalf of the souls of the generous. Adding another layer onto this smorgasbord of traditions is the medieval European custom of mummering. This is the general act of dressing in disguise and partying from door to door during major feast days, enjoying music, dance, and performances along the way. Souling first arrived in the United States in the 19th century, but it wasn't until the 1920s that children began trick-or-treating as they do today. Number 5. Halloween in America. When Halloween first arrived in colonial America, it wasn't the majorly celebrated holiday we know today. Much of New England shunned the autumnal celebrations due to the strict Protestant beliefs of the culture at the time. It did, however, resonate with Maryland and the colonies south of that, perhaps due to the agricultural familiarity of the region and Halloween's relation to the fall harvest. Over time, European customs began to blend with those of Native Americans, creating a new uniquely American celebration of All Hallows' Eve. The first such festivities involved public parties where neighbors would dance, sing, read fortunes, and tell stories. These tales usually included ghost stories, accounts of mischief, and chronicles of those who had passed away. Such fall festivals would gain popularity by the mid-19th century, but it wasn't until a new wave of immigrants arrived in the latter half of the 1800s that Halloween would finally catch on. Bringing their native customs and beliefs and combining them with the festivals already gaining steam in the new nation, the Irish immigrants coming to America changed Halloween forever in the United States. Number 4. Fear factor. Horror movies have been a popular genre since the turn of the 20th century. But as Halloween caught on through the 1900s as one of the most commercially successful holidays in the United States, Hollywood took notice. The popular Halloween franchise first debuted in theaters in 1978, just 6 days before the holiday of the same name. But rather than start this trend, this film followed in the footsteps of movies like Night of the Living Dead and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to bring terrifying movies to the public just in time for Halloween. Since then, October has been an ideal release month for horror films as box office numbers soar for the genre given the holiday spirit. In 2018, the horror superhero hybrid film Venom raked in over $80 million, and the latest Halloween film garnered another $76 million in each of their opening weekends, becoming the biggest October film releases in history. But this year's psychological thriller Joker surpassed them both, bringing in more than $96 million across 3 days. Who knows where the horror film genre would be today, if not for Halloween. Number 3. Lost traditions. While the majority of our current Halloween customs are derived from the traditions of international cultures throughout history, many rituals of Hallows' Eve past have dwindled into obscurity. Strangely, the majority of these practices revolve around connecting women with their soulmates. In 18th century Ireland, chefs looking to play matchmaker would bury a ring within a maiden diner's mashed potatoes with the aim of bringing true love to their customers. Scottish fortune tellers would instruct young women in search of a suitor to inscribe the names of men with which she has interest into hazelnuts, then toss them into the fireplace. While some may pop or explode, the one that burnt into ashes was said to be her future husband by some accounts, while others stated a burnt hazelnut represented a love that would not last. Other lost superstitions involve reading egg yolks for clues about the future, tossing apple peels behind you to see if they form the name of a future love on the ground, and holding a candle to a mirror in a dark room to see your future husband's face over your shoulder. Number 2. Sweet scheme. Transcending beyond cultural traditions, Halloween has spiraled into a major seasonal industry, drumming up huge revenue in the autumnal months. Each year, Americans spend over $4 billion on costumes and another $2 billion on candy. In fact, the holiday has become a cornerstone for the sweets industry, as a quarter of their yearly revenue comes from this single night of trick-or-treating. These huge profits aren't driven by mere chance, though. In 1985, during a Senate hearing on daylight saving time, candy corporations allegedly band together in hopes of swaying the vote. In addition to lobbying the representatives, the industry giants supposedly went so far as to place candy pumpkins on the seat of every senator at the hearing, according to NPR, though the industry disputes this detail. Their goal? To extend daylight savings time back into the beginning of November, allowing children more time to go trick-or-treating, and thus encouraging adults to purchase more candy to satiate the needs of Halloween goers. Number 1. Full moon rarity. When it comes to film depictions, creepy creatures always seem to stir during a full moon on Halloween night. Whether it be ghouls, vampires, or werewolves, popular media always seems to pair them with this specific moon phase. But the likelihood of a full moon falling on October 31st has proven to be fairly rare in reality. Since it caught on in the 1920s, only 5 Halloweens saw the big wheel of cheese in the sky shine in all its glory, occurring in 1925, 1944, 1955, 1974, and 2001. Lucky or unlucky, depending on your superstitions, for us, the next appearance of a full moon on Halloween is just around the corner, slated for Halloween 2020.